Welcome to the Microscopists, a bite-sized bio podcast, hosted by Peter O'Toole, sponsored by Zeiss Microscopy.
Today on the Microscopists, it's a super special, super important edition. Today I'm joined by a passionate set of guests to talking about something that can affect the individual and those around them. Today we're going to talk about the perimenopause. And this is important not just for the individual, but for line managers, peers, friends to also understand. So please listen to learn more. My guests will share personal stories of navigating the significant yet often invisible changes to their body and their mental well-being, and how this has impacted their careers and their daily lives. By opening up about the symptoms and how long it took to recognise what was happening, they hope that others will be able to spot the signs of perimenopause and feel empowered to seek the support that they need. Please, please, please do listen, watch, and please do forward this on to others. I hope you enjoy. Hi, I'm Peter O'Toole from the University of York, and welcome to a very different episode of the Microscopists. So today I'm joined by three people. I'll introduce them in a moment. That I'm not going to say are brave. I'm going to say they're passionate about perimenopause through to the menopause. So I'm going to let you introduce themselves. So I'm going to start around my screen. Maxine?
My name's Maxine Holder. I'm what they call a principal laboratory research scientist at the Francis Crick Institute, which basically means I'm a combination of postdoc and lab manager. Do you want me to say how old I was, how old I am?
No, we can come to that. We can come to that in a minute, Maxine. Celine?
Yeah, I am actually in a very similar position as Maxine. I also work at Francis Crick Institute. I'm also a principal laboratory research scientist. And I think we probably started roughly at the same time at the Crick, about 20 years ago or something. So basically, we know each other from the distance, but it's really only perimenopause that brought us together, which I think is quite lovely.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm in perimenopause, yes.
Okay. And George?
Hi everyone, Georgina, Fletcher, or George. I'm now the project officer at BioImagingUK, which is the link to Pete and the Microscopists. But I used to work with Maxine and Celine at the Francis Crick, and before that the LRI CRUK Institute in London. I'm 46, nearly 47, and definitely perimenopausal, and very passionate about this subject.
So thank you, all three of you, because I know some people wouldn't talk about this subject, wouldn't admit to this subject. And I think it's really important to share the information. So actually from my side, I think, George, we were at a meeting last year, and there was a discussion about perimenopause, symptoms at work, anxiety and stress, and mental health. And a lot of the mental health issues can be related, certainly with women, obviously, with the perimenopause coming on. And actually what struck me was over the coffee break, someone approached me because I said something, and they said, what is the perimenopause? I thought, wow, actually, it's right. Not everyone is aware of it.
Yeah.
Even if you are aware of the symptoms and the impact and how, so from my side, obviously this isn't for me, but as a line manager, this is really important for me to understand, so I can recognize symptoms, I can put things in place to help people and support people, because I need to make sure I keep my best staff. And I've seen the other side of this with my own wife and how she's changed jobs, probably because of the onset of the perimenopause. So actually, who is best placed to describe what the perimenopause is?
I think any of us.
God, George, because I know you're very passionate about the perimenopause rather than the menopause itself.
Yeah, menopause is defined as 12 months without having a period. So it's looking retrospectively at something, and the perimenopause is the build-up to that, and it can differ. It can vary wildly across women, I think, but around 5 to 10 years before you're actually menopausal, you can be in menopause. So for many women, that can start at around mid-30s, late 30s. mid-40s, early 40s, early 40s, mid-40s. And it's defined by your hormones being very dysregulated. So sometimes it can be high and sometimes it can be low. And this is part of the problem, because when I personally went to my GP and thought maybe this is what's happening, I was under 45 and they wouldn't take me seriously, but they did blood tests and the hormones were fine, as they probably would be, because it's not that the hormone levels have necessarily dropped, it's this wild fluctuation of estrogen, and that is causing many of these symptoms that the classic ones are night sweats, hot flushes, but I don't think they're the most common ones. The most common ones are problems sleeping, anxiety, brain fog, and they are not necessarily connected with the menopause when you go to the GP. So this is part of the problem.
Okay. So can I ask how old you all were when you realised that you were perimenopausal? So actually, I'll go around with Celine. Maxine first, go to my screen.
I was 43 and it was pointed out to me by a gynecologist. If she hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have realised. I wouldn't have known what was wrong with me, even though I'd been suffering for years at that point.
Ooh, okay. Celine?
So I am 47 now, and I have realized about 13, 14 months ago, but with insight, I think I was perimenopausal for a good 2 years already. And Sam, when you mentioned that at the meeting, someone came to you to ask you just straight, what is perimenopause? I had no idea. I was actually talking with a colleague, and he was telling me that his wife was perimenopausal. She's my age, and she's a GP, so she knows. And I said, what do you mean perimenopausal? She's way too young. Because for me, it was just like menopause, and that can be, she's 45. It's just, it is. But so, yeah, I think this is why it's so important to talk about it, for people to realize that this is a thing. This is going to happen if you've got a uterus. And yeah, any time from 35 to 50, you might suddenly experience some weird stuff, like you don't really recognize your head, you don't recognize your body. There is definitely something wrong with you. This is not depression, most likely not depression, but more likely your hormone playing up and you having all of those symptoms linked to that.
Celine, thank you. And George, what age did you say you were when you started?
I think I was around, well, when I realised, I've got just Maxine Holder to thank for this, because she was the person that actually made a big transformation in this. But that was 18 months ago, Max, when we had that conversation. I think I've been perimenopausal since I was 38, so we're talking 8 years. And only realised it about 18 months ago. I remember going for a Thai massage with a wonderful masseuse that I would, unfortunately he's left London, he was amazing. And he would give like a pre-consultation, and I would always bring up my sleep being terrible, and I was going to all these yoga classes and so on to get better sleep, and it wasn't helping. And he said, have you thought maybe you're menopausal? And this is the issue for me, it's the language problem, because my periods hadn't changed at all. And I'm thinking, menopause, that's like, mid-40s at the earliest. I'm sort of 8 years before that. And perhaps if he'd have said perimenopausal, it might have made the difference. But he didn't, so yeah. And I think a lot of these symptoms, especially with mood and so on, you don't realise that you're getting depressed or that you're getting unmotivated until you're not, or that you're getting anxious until you're not getting those things. So it's hard, and that's why we definitely need to talk about it and make it just not taboo to bring this up.
Yeah, I think you don't realize, because it just builds up, and then you get more and more anxious and more tired, and then you sleep less and less, and you just think it's just, it's a burnout. I'm just doing too much, and just life, and and I think it's very true when you say you don't realize until you're not there anymore. So for me, it was really finding a really, really good HRT treatment that works well for me. And now I'm alive again. I mean, 2 years I've been like under this weird blanket, not really be here in the room. And now it's just all gone. It's amazing. I mean, I wish everybody could experience that. It's very nice.
So Maxine, Celine, rather, what were your symptoms then?
I think my main the most annoying and debilitating symptom for me was really brain fog. I mean, we're all scientists here. We need our brain to work. And my brain just seemed like it didn't want to work anymore the way it used to. So stuff that I could just do like that, it would take me days, or I couldn't even concentrate on it. And I think one of the big event that happened to me is that I was sitting at my computer and we were looking at a structure on the computer. My boss was sitting next to me. And I've spent hours on this structure. And I knew exactly everything, like everything. And then suddenly blank. And I had no idea what I was looking at on my screen. And I had to tell my boss, which is very supportive. Everything is it's been very, very good. And yeah, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. It's like suddenly you've got dementia and your brain stopped working. So this one was a really, really big one with me. And yeah, of course, anxiety, depression, lack of sleep. I mean, I would wake up 25 times a night or something. So you wake up extremely tired, and it doesn't help with the brain, the memory, everything is like complete nightmare. Yeah, it took me a long time. I mean, I was really, really bad. It took me so long to understand what is it that was happening with me. But yeah.
Maxine, what were your first symptoms?
So the worst thing for me was fatigue. So different women will experience a different suite of symptoms. And I had a bit of brain fog and a bit of difficulty concentrating. But the main thing for me was fatigue. And I just thought, this is what it's like to get old. And I was exhausted all of the time. And you always hear adults saying, oh, I'm tired all the time. And I thought, oh, this is just what life is like when you get past 40. But it was terrible. So, you know, I've got quite a long commute. And by the time I arrived in the morning, I feel like I'd worked a whole day and I'd have to sit down. So then I wasn't very motivated to start new things or take on anything difficult. And then when people said, oh, should we go for a drink after work? I couldn't, because I knew if I work even 1 hour longer than I normally would, I'm then going to be absolutely exhausted the next day and not be able to function at all. And I ended up just, you know, withdrawing from all of the fun parts of life and just existing, just about managing to get to work, do a reasonable amount, get home again. And then I couldn't clean my house. I couldn't really see my family. I just didn't want to do anything because I was just tired all of the time. And it just made life miserable.
So how did you realise? At what point? So I know that George spoke to Maxine. That's how you realised. Celine, you had the doctor, a friend who I presume helped identify symptoms. But Maxine, in your case, how did you realise?
I had lots of problems with my periods, so I kept going to the doctor because you're always told if you have bleeding, unexpected bleeding, go to the doctor and get checked out. And I was doing this for years and years and years. And the doctors kept saying, oh, you've got a polyp, we'll remove the polyp. Oh, you've got another polyp, we'll remove the polyp. And eventually the gynecologist sat me down and said, you're a bit young, but probably what's happening is you're starting to experience some changes. And even she didn't say the word menopause, but, you know, she introduced the idea to me. And I immediately recoiled from the idea because I thought, no, that only affects old people. I don't want to think of myself as an old person. But then over the next couple of months, I started to think, she's probably right. And I started to read up on it, and I realized that there are many, many symptoms of approaching menopause that I didn't realize about. And one of those is fatigue and brain fog and mood changes. And the best treatment for that would be HRT. So I phoned my GP and got myself some HRT and slapped those patches on. And like 24 hours later, the fatigue was gone. And I was not only able to clean my house, I looked out the window and the grass was long. So I said, oh, we need to mow the lawn. And I went out and I got the lawnmower out and I was mowing the lawn. And I just felt, you know, 10, 15 years younger overnight just from having some estrogen in my body again.
You know, I want a patch.
It's amazing. I mean, sometimes there are shortages of these things. So, you know, sometimes I'd go and sit at a pharmacy that I knew they had it in stock, and I'd wait until the pharmacist came in so that I knew that I would be the first one to be seen and given these patches to make sure I got them. Amazing stuff.
You said about the bleeds. Was it more intermittent? Was it for longer? Was it heavier?
Oh, it's all sorts. So the interval can change, the kind of yeah, the length of each one, the interval between them, and the kind of amount of bleeding you get at each one. It's like all of these things were changing. They were all over the place. It started with small changes, but then it got worse and worse and worse over time.
So my wife, Emma, she did give me permission to talk. I just quickly say to start with. She said periods became heavier. But again, and she became anxious about work. So she had to take time off work, which was not like her. She's a very confident person. But the doctor treated for anxiety rather than anything else, even though I might have pushed, saying maybe there's something else. And it wasn't until she actually went for a first aid course, and they were taking each other's blood rhythm, and she was had arrhythmia. And then when she went to the doctors, had got a blood test, her iron levels were really, really low because her bleeds had been heavier. And so actually, it wasn't just HRT, it was also getting more iron. So it took longer to get energy levels back up and stuff. So are you all on HRT?
Yes.
I mean, I don't understand people that don't want to try HRT. I mean, I think if you know that you're perimenopausal, I would 100% recommend try HRT. It's not for everybody. And there is lots of different treatment, and you might need sometimes to find the one that works for you. But seeing all of the people on HRT that seem to be alive again, I mean, for me, it's a non-brainer. I mean, your hormones are declining, just get some extra and see if it works better for you.
So that's interesting. Are you all on, Maxine, you're on a patch?
Yep.
Yep.
We're all on 3 hormones. We're all on estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. So we have slight variations in the formulation, but we're all taking 3 supplementary hormones.
And have you all changed or optimized, or was that just what the doctor gave you to start with? How many of you were what the doctor just gave you to start with?
I researched, there's YouTube videos online because this all started during the pandemic for me. There are videos explaining to GPs how to do remote consultations for patients who need HRT. So I've just watched those. They're supposed to be for training GPs, but anyone can watch them. And so I just wrote down like some patient details that were similar to me and what was prescribed for those. And I went to my GP and said, I want this at this dose, this at this dose, and this at this dose. And he was like, oh, you seem to know what you're talking about. Here you go. And I've just stuck with that ever since. So YouTube is what it was talking about.
Scientists are the best. So you stuck with it.
Yeah.
Celine and George, you both shook your heads.
Yeah, for me, this started me on patches, so estrogen and progesterone, which is not a Maxine. How do you call that? The progesterone that is not really progesterone.
Or the identical oh no, so progestin, synthetic progestin is the one that's not the same.
So it's a patch that is different for the first 15 days of your cycle and the second 15 days. So the first 15 days you're only on estrogen, and then the second part of the cycle you're on estrogen plus progestin. And the first part of the cycle was gorgeous for me. I mean, I could sleep, everything was fine. And as soon as I started progestin, it was really horrible again. This is something that I've experienced before with the micro pill, mini pill, something with synthetic progesterone. I'm not good with it. So I went back to the GP a couple of months after. I just wanted to make sure that it wouldn't settle, because they say you should try like 2 or 3 months and then see and change. Didn't work really, really well. So I went back to the GP and they changed that. They gave me micronized progesterone with the one that you take orally, and an estrogen cream that you have to put inside your thighs. That works fine. That works definitely much better than my first treatment, but still it was not 100% fine for me. I mean, I could feel that I was still very, very sluggish. I had good days, bad days. So I asked my GP for a referral for menopause clinic. And amazingly enough, it took like a month or something for me to get my referral, and no, less than a month to get the referral, but a month to get to see a gynecologist. And that was just mind blowing. I mean, the person I saw, she just knows what she's talking about, and she's so experienced. And when I explained what I was still experiencing, she said, okay, that's fine. We're going to try to increase your estrogen cream. We're going to give you some estrogen vaginally, and we're also going to try testosterone. But she took an extremely scientific approach. She said, okay, we're first going to do that. You've got prescription for everything. First increase that, then do that, and then we see, and we regroup in 6 months and see how it goes. So I haven't seen her again. I think I'm going to see her in like 3 months now. But it's been working fantastically for me. I mean, I am not 100%, but I am 10 times better than I was a year ago. So for me, I think I found the right combination of stuff, but I think it can definitely take some time.
And I can confirm that Celine is so much better than on her patches. We have menopause cafe meetings at work, and that's where we first really started talking to each other. Even though we would have been aware of each other working in the same building for a long time, we never really spoke until we both started going to these menopause cafes. And I was so happy when you came in the second time, and you were so much happier on your new treatment.
I mean, that was very early. Sorry, that was very early after I started HRT, actually, my first menopause cafe. And at this time, I mean, I woke up one morning, I just wanted to die. So that was a really, really bad place. Yeah. And I'm good now. Yeah.
I like the menopause cafe approach. We'll come back to that maybe in a minute, because I can't imagine it's easy to walk up to the table or the group and enter it, because it's kind of coming out as menopausal or perimenopausal at that point. So I'll ask now, how did you feel going to your first cafe meeting?
Is that for me?
Yeah, you and Maxine. So I presume Maxine, unless you started it, I presume.
Started before. You went to the menopause cafe.
I did. I think I went to a couple before you. It was very intimidating, just the idea of going. And then I went, and it was a seminar room, and it had 3 women in it. And I thought, oh, I can do this. And I went in and just talked to them. And, we talked a little bit about symptoms and treatments. And then one of them said she was going for a new job. So we just kind of talked through her CV and tried to support her a bit in her career instead. So then I realized, oh, it's just a bunch of women getting together to talk, but you have a license to talk about menopausal symptoms, which you often wouldn't want to bring up in a group because other people kind of think they're icky. You don't want people to think that you're weird and old and only want to talk about your medical problems. But this was a setting where you could just speak freely about it and realize that other people were going through the same thing as you.
Celine?
Yeah, for me, I loved it, actually. I was aware of the menopause cafe because there is advertisement in the lift at the Crick. It's every 3 months, but I've always wondered what it was about. I mean, it's called Menopause Cafe, and I was not in perimenopause. I wasn't not aware of anything at the time. I said, Menopause Cafe. This is a weird word. Maybe it means something else in English. I don't know, because I really didn't see the point of having a menopause cafe at all. Anyway, but then, okay, I realized I was perimenopausal, and I think, oh, I just need to talk anyway, because I mean, at this stage, I was just talking to everybody about it, like all of the students in the lab, my boss, the neighbors, the lab next door, everybody that is roughly my age and might be affected by just I had to talk with them because I just needed to talk. So it was very, very good for me to have a place where you can actually talk even more, like learn stuff and maybe help a little bit, or just try to make sense of everything that was quite new. I love it. It's every 3 months, but I wish it would be more often, actually, because we also see different people all the time. So there is definitely lots of people. There is definitely lots of people affected. And I just want everybody to know.
I just love the concept. I don't know if we have that at York. I don't know, but I'm going to find out.
Yeah.
Just information to know that it exists, I think is super cool. And George, what we're just going back with those original treatments,
Yeah, it's very, very similar to Celine's experience, actually. I started on the sequential patches, and literally, I think it was 2 or 3 days for me when I put my first one on. Like Maxine said, it was like day and night. I normally do a little walk at lunchtime because I work from home. And for the first time in what felt ages, I was like, oh my God, I think I'm going to go further. And that was why I knew something is like, instead of just walking 10 minutes, I would walk 20 minutes to a lake. And that was when I knew this is unbelievable, because I'd not felt like I want to walk to the lake for a long, long time. And it was just natural. So that energy that Maxine was talking about was one of the first signs that, something is changing. But when I put the second patch on that contained the progesterone, I started to get mood swings, didn't feel as good as I did. So yeah, it was maybe with Maxine guiding me, she's my sort of HRT guru. About 6 months trying different things, Utrogestan, and then my GP has a menopause specialist. So when I'd said the right buzzwords to them and I was probably above 45, they started to take me more seriously. And Tony Hazel is my GP. She's writing things on menopause for patient access and for the NHS and things. So that's, wonderful that I've got someone at my local practice like that. She recommended having the Mirena coil for the progesterone as well, because my periods were very heavy, frequent, and causing, iron deficiency as well. That's part of the energy thing. So that's what I'm settled with now. And I had to keep increasing my estrogen. So I think I started on a 25 patch, and now I'm on 100. And it was the minor symptoms that helped me there. So I had itchy shins, weirdly, and I had pain behind my knees and a jaw pain. And these were getting better every time I went up 25 with the estrogen patches. So that's kind of what I'm on, as well as testosterone, as well as vaginal estrogen as well. That's been massive, game changer too. So I could go on and on about my symptoms. Nobody wants to hear this.
Well, I think it's good to hear the different symptoms, because actually it's going to be different for everyone. And if people who are listening or watching, for them, they may not yet identify any of the symptoms, because again, the symptoms can be different for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I think I got a list of, we've heard what anxiety, stress, brain fog, lack of energy levels, your iron levels going down. We've heard emotionally, ups and downs with it, difficulty sleeping, night sweats. Just from your conversation, that's what's come out. Have I missed anything?
Yeah, there is weight gain. I've put on 5 kilo in 8 months, and I'm quite slim. I've always been quite slim, never been on diet in my life. Didn't change what I was eating, and suddenly it just pile up on kilograms, and you don't recognize your body anymore. So first you don't recognize your brain. Now you don't recognize your body. I mean, this is such a horrible thing. So, I mean, I'm better now. My head's fine, so now I can focus a bit more on my body, and I'm slowly losing this weight that I piled up on for no reason. But yeah, I think it's something that I think it's something that lots of women are experiencing, and it's very, very difficult to lose weight.
I don't want this to be a loaded question, but how many of you went to the doctors and the doctor didn't? How long did it take them before they thought about going towards perimenopause? So I'll start with George, maybe in this one.
I think I must have gone when I was around 42, 43. So a different GP, didn't know what I had to say. I had to kind of go on the night sweats and the hot flushes to get through when I did go the second time. And I didn't know that the first time. They must have a sheet that they're looking at key symptoms, and I wasn't saying the right things, which I didn't know. So I'd gone, had these blood tests. They said it's fine. and maybe take an iron tablet. Not even come back in 2 years when we can look at you and it'll be easier. Nothing. So yeah, I was disappointed with that, unfortunately.
Celine?
For me, it was much, much, much easier than that, because there is something with the NHS, is their very own guidelines. If you're over 45, I was over 45, and you display any kind of menopausal, perimenopausal symptom, you've got two choices. Either you do nothing. The pharmacist explained that to me. You can do nothing, or you can try HRT. So I tried HRT. I first called them up because I wanted to try HRT. Okay. But yeah, I mean, this is really this 45-year-old threshold, that if you are not 45-year-old, it is getting way more difficult, because they would try to push for blood tests, which doesn't make any sense, because I mean, they would need like a baseline of your hormone before you were perimenopausal, to be honest. I mean, again, we're scientists, we know how it works. If you don't know how it was originally, how are you going to judge what's happening in the now? Yeah. So yeah, there you go. If you're 45, it's easier, and it was easier for me.
Maxine?
I was under 45, and I never went to the GP for any symptoms other than the irregular bleeding, and the GP would just every time just refer me to a different gynecologist, and it was the gynecologist who said, this is probably what's going on with you. And then when I went back to the GP, they were saying, oh, you're a bit young. And I said, no, but the gynecologist has diagnosed me as, being perimenopausal, and here are the treatments that I want. And then I think just to get rid of me, they just said, oh, here, have whatever you want. But yeah, I'm not sure that there's no menopause specialist at my GP. And the area where I live, I'm in Surrey. I don't live in London like the other two. So the rules are slightly different, and the formulary that the GPs can prescribe from is different. And it's very difficult to see. There's no menopause clinic at the hospitals that you can get referred to easily. So I'm very lucky that I am a scientist and I was able to read up and absorb the information. And there are even websites that will coach you on how to talk to your GP to get the result you want. But, you have to go in there knowing that you want HRT and be willing to fight for it a bit if you are under 45 at the time you want to start, which is unfortunate.
So it's interesting, you all sort of started fairly young, didn't recognise the symptoms to start with, potentially. How many of you, would any of you say you were in denial and just saying, no, it can't be me, it can't be me, don't be silly? So Maxine, you said definitely yes.
Yes. Maybe not so much in denial at the beginning, it just doesn't even enter your mind that it can be this, because society is very unkind to menopausal women, and all of the stereotypes that are easily available in the media are of some worthless, decrepit, old crone, and you don't want to associate yourself with that inside your head. And when the gynecologist said to me, like, maybe this is happening to you, my instant reaction was just to deny it and not think about it, because I don't want to mentally associate myself with that group of people. And I had to go through a process that took a couple of weeks, where I kind of really looked at the women around me and thought, well, based on the age of all of these people on the telly, people around me, they must be menopausal, and they are great women and they have wonderful things that I would love to emulate. So I can look at them and say, well, they can be my role models. And then I could maybe accept that, yeah, this might be a term that might apply to me. But yeah, it was a difficult process to go through.
And George, you said you were 38. So I presume, did it just not cross your mind, or was there an element of you that was in denial of it, of saying, actually, no?
Yeah, I think there was denial. I felt far too young for somebody to say, is it menopause? So yeah, that came as a shock. But it was, yeah, again, it's the language. I've spoken to other people that have also said, but my periods were fine, so I didn't think I was menopausal or perimenopausal. So I think if that can change, that would be a real shift in women realizing that it's possibly perimenopause when you can't sleep and you're not in the best mood, and all the other things that we've mentioned. Have to add the itchy skin and also not being able to hold, having a bit of lack of bladder control. So you've walked from the train station, you're about to get in the door, and that's when, you have a little accident or something like that. And that's changed completely with, I don't know which medication it is, probably the estrogen, the vaginal estrogen. It is the estrogen. Yeah, it's gone. But I just thought that's normal. That's me getting old.
Yeah, that's another symptom. Some people get recurrent urinary tract infections because the symptom that everybody doesn't like to talk about, but is on the list of GPs ones, is vaginal dryness. But it's not just your vaginal epithelia; it's all of your epithelia need estrogen. So you can have dry eyes. I had terrible dry sinuses, and all of your urinary tracts needs estrogen to be healthy. And when your estrogen starts to dry up, it becomes fragile, and it's not such a good barrier. And the mechanosensitivity of it changes, so you need to wee more often. You feel like you really need to wee, even if there's not very much in there, just because the epithelium is a lot more sensitive.
I've got I've got no idea, and this is kind of a bit random out of order. How long do you have to remain on HRT?
In theory, the NHS guidelines said there is no limit to how long you can remain on it, as long as the benefits outweigh the risks. Some GPs still say, oh, we want to put you on it for 5 years and then you have to come off. So I haven't been on it for that long yet. I don't know which way my GP is going to go, but I'm going to fight to stay on it.
But forever and ever?
For as long as I can. There are some things that they will stop it for, like, the thing that everyone is terrified of is what happens if I get breast cancer. They usually then want to stop the HRT. But, fingers crossed, that doesn't happen for a long time.
So once you're through, perimenopause, you've got the treatments, the menopause, and you'll stop ovulating. But you carry on even after that point?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Because the benefits still apply. It still helps your brain function. It helps your mood. Something that I don't think we mentioned was you can get depression as well as anxiety. You can get both things. And that, I think, is one of the most, one of the things we really need to raise awareness of, is that some women, their mood just goes down and down and down, and they can't function in their lives and their families and their jobs anymore. And like somebody mentioned earlier, like people leave their jobs because they feel they can't cope anymore, and they go to their GP, and the GP gives them antidepressants, and the antidepressants don't work because the actual problem is your hormones. If only women realize that if you start to become depressed or anxious in your mid-30s, when you never have been before, or maybe you had been before but you were stable and then it's declined again, really think about your hormones. Go to your GP and say, could it be my hormones? Can I try some hormone replacement to see if this stabilizes my mood? It could save so many women from giving up their jobs or failing to go for promotions that they deserve just because of the way they feel.
I also have a slight concern that this has been really revealing, enlightening. The fact that the first treatments don't always work that well. And actually, you can imagine someone who's maybe anxious or depressed or got loads of brain fog. Actually, if you've got brain fog and it doesn't work, the HRT comes with its own risks. And someone who's stressed or got brain fog cannot think clearly, that's part of the, and may then say, well, it's not working for me. It obviously isn't the perimenopause, and then stop taking it. And, I think, Celine, you said it was over a period of 3 or 4 months of trying different things, or longer.
Usually, I think you've got more than one symptom. And in my experience, and people have talked about, even if your first HRT treatment doesn't solve everything, you might find a little bit of something that, it gets better. For me, it was sleeping. I was not sleeping anymore. And suddenly I could sleep like 2-3 hours without waking up. And this is amazing when you don't sleep.
But it's only 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, but it's so much better than 20 times a night being awake. Really, it's terrible. So yeah, Yeah, okay. So maybe we need to work on that. Maybe there is something, maybe it can get better. Let's try something else.
Are any of you generally averse to taking tablets, medicines, or are you people who embrace taking it to start with? So, Maxine, are you someone who embraces taking medicine
No,
to start with, or are you adverse to it?
I'm averse to it, but I do it when it's necessary. So I think I grew up, I wouldn't even take a paracetamol if I had a headache. Because I don't know, maybe my generation are afraid that you'll get addicted to painkillers, which is ridiculous from paracetamol. But there's that kind of mindset. It's like, oh no, if you can soldier on regardless, do that. That is more admirable. But I've learned a lot actually from supervising lots of students. Or the younger people have a very different view of these kinds of things, and I've started to adopt some of their ideas. And they're right. If you are suffering, ask for help and then take the medication that makes it better, and then your life will be better. You
Yeah,
don't need to, there's nobody there with a scorecard going, oh, Maxine soldiered on for 5 years without any medication when something really simple and really safe would have made her life so much easier. You don't get any points for that.
so I think that's really interesting. The fact you were reverse, and then you take, but of course your meds work first time. The HRT
Yes,
worked overnight, didn't it? And I just wonder
amazing.
if it hadn't have worked overnight,
It
would you?
didn't work overnight on everything. It took 6 weeks for the hot flushes to stop, but the energy came back overnight. And then it just took time for the hot flushes to go away as well. But, I
Okay.
could see a result straight away. And so I was definitely keen on sticking with it. I had faith.
And George, what about you? Are you an embracer or someone who's I don't want to put different chemicals in my body type?
I was suffering. I mean, when I'd gone into the Crick to have a meeting with somebody, and I'd asked Maxine for a coffee, and she just said to me, "How are you doing?" And I was like, honestly, I've had 3-4 nights of possibly just 2 hours sleep, and I'm on my knees. And then that's when she said, "Oh, have you thought about it's perimenopause? I'm on HRT," and then told me everything. And because I was suffering so much, I just thought, yeah, I need to do this. But when I'd got the patches, actually, strangely, it took me about a month or 2 months to actually start them. I was nervous. I don't know why. I just thought, oh God, am I going to get cancer? Or I don't know. It was just weird. And I really put it off. And when I'd actually put them on, I was yeah, like I say, it was a couple of days, and I was transformed into a person 20 years younger. And after that, I was just like, give me everything I can get, I will take. And that's been my what I tell other people, like, yeah, just try it. If you can, if the GP will give it you, try it.
And Celine, what about yourself?
Very, very similar experience to Maxine here. I am a very long sufferer of my articulation, especially my knees and hips. I've got dysplasia on both hips. So for me, it's always been a problem to walk or walking longer, so lots of pain. Actually, yeah, about 15 months ago, I got up once and I just couldn't bear weight on my right hip anymore. So yeah, another of those symptoms that we didn't mention is inflammation. Your inflammation just goes through the roof. And I am not a fan of painkiller and anti-inflammatory, so I just go through it unless I can't walk anymore. So yeah, I would say I am in favor of not taking many painkiller. Same generation as Maxine. I don't know if it's, but HRT. I mean, no, you should try. It's just yeah.
I'm going to change tack just a little bit and ask about the impacts it had at work. And so, did you feel that work was suffering? And did your work colleagues notice that your work rate, whatever it is, focus had changed? And was it a negative impact on them? And were you concerned about that? So I could see Celine nodding away. So I'm going to start with Celine.
So for me, maybe they realized before I realized that something was wrong with me. I was extreme. I mean, I'm a lab manager as well. I'm dealing with lots of student and postdoc, and I'm supposed to be here for them. And I was just losing patience. I was very, very bitter, very anxious. So this part of the job, which is lots of relationship and helping people, was more difficult for me. And I would snap at them. I don't snap. I would snap at them. So this part definitely suffered quite a lot. I mean, my brain fog was so bad that I would start a sentence and I couldn't finish the sentence. So I had to talk with my boss. So we had it's very, very supportive. We had lots of chat about it, and he was all in favor of me taking some time for myself if I needed to. I skipped some of my lab meeting because I simply couldn't. I couldn't sit for like 5 hours on my computer to prepare a lab meeting. I mean, it's just nothing would come. Just nothing would make sense anymore to me. So yeah, my work has suffered a lot. I'm better now. I mean, again, for me, it's just like night and day. So I feel like I don't snap to the kids anymore. I'm definitely more there for them, and I am more able to do my work the way I used to do.
Okay, so actually, I'll just stick with you for a minute, Celine, then go to George and then Maxine on this. Did you tell your line managers and your close peers?
Oh, yeah. Everybody knows. I mean, seriously, my boss was sitting next to me when I had this big moment where I couldn't make sense of what was on my computer screen. I mean, we were talking about my project, and suddenly I just completely blacked out. So yeah, I said, "Well, Frank, I'm sorry. We need to stop now. I don't know what's happening with me. It's just not working." And I came back to him a couple of days after. We had to postpone my PDR as well. We were supposed every year we sit for a PDR where we talk about your annual review and plan for development. I couldn't do any of that. So yeah, no, he's fully aware. He's very understanding. Yeah, and everybody else, yeah, all of the student and postdoc, I talk very, very openly to them because it's important. I think it's important for them to understand what's happening with me, and also for them to know what can happen to them or to their loved one at some point. So yeah, we have a very, very open kind of discussion about perimenopause in the lab, which I find quite refreshing. And I realize I'm very, very lucky. I mean, especially talking to those other perimenopausal women at the Menopause Cafe, this is not the case for everyone. And most of them wouldn't even dare talking about it with their line manager, which I think is a shame. And a line manager being a woman or a man, for them doesn't matter. They can't talk about it, which I think, yeah, it's quite problematic.
Is that for just personal shyness reasons, or the fact that they don't want to admit to it, or they're worried how they'll be perceived afterwards?
From my understanding, I don't know, just correct me, Maxine, but we've got really both kind of people at the Menopause Cafe, yeah, people that shyness to just, yeah, it's just still too taboo, and their boss is male and they don't even want to hint about it, which is a shame, I think, but it's okay. And the other one, see, my brain is gone now. I don't remember the other one. Sorry, but yeah.
Worries about how they'll be judged afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that too. Yeah, they are both
maybe.
I presume you'd all advocate to be open, though, because have any of you encountered any negative response at work?
No.
No?
No.
George is shaking her head too?
No, I don't think I've personally been as explicit with my line managers about this.
You have now.
I know, that's what I'm thinking. I've told the RMS I'm doing this, but I've not told one of my other bosses. It's going to be a surprise for her. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one because I would be telling my friends and contacts outside of work about this, and at work I'm not so bold. But yeah, they'll know now.
So you haven't told Maddie?
No.
Okay. I was speaking to Maddie last week. She might know. Sorry.
Yeah, well, that makes sense then. Why? And Sal was like, "Oh, good luck with the recording." I was like, "Oh, it's Thursday, not tomorrow, unless I've got it wrong." That would be funny if I turn up one day late because of brain fog. I think.
But I think that's important. I think you've all had positive experiences, and I'm sure they'll. It's unfortunate in a way that one of you hasn't had a negative response, because we need it's just to understand that actually maybe not everyone is as enlightened, and you've all got line managers and peers that actually sound very understanding, but actually I would say knowledgeable, but they can't be that knowledgeable because you all came to this not when you entered your perimenopause, you were not that aware that it existed. So you've got to think your peers, maybe they just nodded and said okay, and then just got on. I wonder how much they went afterwards and went to read more about it to understand it.
Well, for me, they didn't really have choice because I didn't say perimenopause. I just explained the symptom and the effect it had on me and what I was trying to do. And so, yeah, I mean, I think I just needed to tell them everything. I think possibly some of them are like in your case where they have a wife or a loved one that has been through it. So they are aware and it's maybe easier for them to understand. But I guess, yeah, all of the younger generation, yeah, you just have to explain to them, which is fine.
I wonder if they're more switched on as well, because I think there's more on social media about it.
Possibly, yeah.
They are. There's a lot on social media about contraceptive pills, and they're definitely switched on to that. And this is not so far away. It's still the same hormones. So, I have had more success in talking to the younger female members of the lab because they've seen all of this stuff on TikTok about contraceptive pills.
Could work have done more to support? Or what would you like in the workplace that could actually help?
I think work has been great for me, but then I wasn't massively impacted. We have a menopause policy which tells line managers that that they should discuss this sort of thing openly with their employee, ask them what they want, let them have flexible hours if they need that. But yeah, it worked for me. I don't know that anybody at the menopause cafes complained that it doesn't work for them.
I think one of the ladies did actually,
Okay.
and she had a female line manager, and that's not going very, very well.
Okay.
I think they can always do better. I think compulsory trainings or refresher or something like that about women health might.
I think I'm lucky because I have a very nice boss.
Yes, I mean, yeah, same for me. I cannot say anything bad about mine.
Well, George, your bosses aren't quite as good, are they? I'm joking.
No, they've been brilliant.
They'll kill me.
There is actually something else that I think we are very, very biased panel here because the three of us are on HRT. That's not the case for everyone. And I think hearing from someone that's not on HRT and that's struggle or doesn't struggle, I mean, some people that can work for some other people without HRT would actually have been a good thing.
But we couldn't
without
persuade any of them to
HRT,
come.
those symptoms will obviously or potentially last longer, which would have potentially a detrimental effect on their ability to work as productively as they could otherwise. And that's a personal choice, and that is absolutely correct. But how, as a line manager, do you then cope if the work level isn't where it could be, or it's changing, and this could last for years and years of having someone in a lesser capacity almost? So, any advice, any thoughts?
By HRT?
You can't force your employee to take it.
Yeah, you cannot force anyone, but really just for yourself, try. I mean, yeah, this is, yeah, I'm a full advocate of HRT. I mean, for me, when I see how bad I was and how better I am, if there is no medical reason that say you shouldn't try, I think you should give it a go.
So if I may challenge, So imagine it's now one of your employees that you're in as a lab manager, and they're going through. You can see the brain fog or the depression, the anxiety, the lack of energy in the lab, and their work performance is dropping. There's errors creeping in, because errors will creep in, especially scientists. If you get brain fog, actually doing SOPs becomes challenging because you miss bits out. And you suggest going on the HRT, but some people will not want to go on any treatment. How can you support at that point in the workplace?
I don't know. I don't know. Oh, some other non-HRT, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have any answer for that.
I mean, there are HR procedures. If somebody gets sick for another reason, if somebody has to have chemotherapy or something, you can, in negotiation with HR, you reduce the amount of duties, and you can try and get money to have like a part-time person to help support their role for a defined period of time. But it would be very difficult to know what the appropriate period of time would be. And it is common that women with very demanding jobs, like a proportion of them will either go part-time or change their role completely if they have very severe menopausal symptoms that interfere with their work. They recognize themselves that they can't do the work as well as they used to, and some of them will choose to leave. And yeah, I don't know how you would I don't know how best to advise somebody who's dealing with that kind of situation.
I mean, what is helpful, but it's hard, is being able to, if you've had a really bad night's sleep and then you're just getting back to sleep at like 6 or 7, to have some kind of flexible start time, so that, if you're sleeping till 8 or 9, you can start work at 10 and catch up, or work from home. I think that kind of flexibility could be really important, but it's very challenging to implement. But having trust that you've got the right person, they want to do the work, but they might just not be doing it in the normal hours, would have been a big help for me.
Yeah,
But
that's
not
true.
always, obviously not always possible, because some people,
No.
imagine you're a flow cytometrist and helping
No.
people self-sort.
Exactly.
The set hours almost, where you need the sort of, you have to be around
Yeah.
because you're there to support someone else in your workplace, working alongside someone.
But if you're not used to sleeping, if you can have one day a week where you do get a bit more, that is still a big help. Yeah, but it's not the case for everybody.
I think that's really interesting to hear, the fact no one's got a good solution without the HRT. And HRT isn't for everyone. And yeah, it's I don't know. I think we're probably still learning the best way to help, support, put in place.
I think for people who don't want to take HRT, or who can't because of, family history of cancer or whatever, the suggestions are, eat well, exercise well, try and sleep well. Maybe some people are recommended CBT to cope with some of their anxiety or depression symptoms. But yeah, there's no magic supplement that will fix it in the way that HRT does, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, I
And
think so. I mean, you have so many fights, because you'll have to fight for your brain, I mean, it's just, yeah, it is very difficult.
DJ Maxine, you said earlier that you would stay on HRT for, I think it was used for as long as you can,
Yes.
through. Is that the same for both you, Celine and George?
It's funny. So this is a discussion we had with we met a couple of weeks ago, and I asked the question to Maxine, because I'm at loss with that. I don't know. I don't know either. I'm guessing I'm probably gonna stay on it, or maybe I'm gonna try to withdraw from it for some times and see if the symptoms go back. But I'm guessing they probably will, and then in that case, I will ask to be put back on it. I don't know yet. If there is no reason for me to stop, and there is no scientific reason for me to stop, I don't think I will. Even though it's really, really horrible. It's just popping pill, putting gels. I mean, I've got a calendar in my bathroom now with some P, some E, some T, and people visiting are really having a good laugh when they see my calendar. But yeah.
And George, what about yourself?
Absolutely, yeah. I would potentially be interested to wean myself off and see what happens, just as an experiment more than anything. But I would, be happy if I could take it till, I'm 80.
Ever the scientist. We are actually up to 1 hour already. So that has really flown. So I'm just going to ask one last question: is what is your, besides take HRT, what is your top tip or something you wish you'd known? So I'll start with George on this one, and then I'll go Celine, then I'll go Maxine on this.
I would talk to your friends about it. Be brave. If no one's saying it, just say it, and you'll be amazed, because it'll just open the floodgates. We've got one group chat that it used to be about swishing when we were swapping clothes, and it's now just taken over with perimenopause and HRT. And yeah, the pub quiz, our pub quiz name is Georgie and the Patches. So yeah.
For me, it's just talk to people about how you feel and try to work out how people feel, and keep on asking people if they're feeling all right. And if not, maybe just hint that it could be something that you've been through yourself and you know how to solve.
Yeah. Thank you. Maxine?
Yeah, I just wish that younger women knew more about the symptoms so that they could recognize them early and seek help before they suffer for years unnecessarily. So yeah, I encourage people to read. There are some good books out there. I just recommend them to anyone who seems interested, and encourage people to educate themselves.
So I'm not as highbrow as Maxine, so I don't encourage them to read, but I encourage them to watch the Davina McCall documentaries about menopause. Because for me, so as soon as someone mentioned perimenopause, I just say, oh, I remember there was a documentary. I've never watched it. I'm not interested in party. And then I watched it. Oh yeah, that's me. Oh yeah. All of that. Tick, tick, tick. So I think it's good to spread the word.
Well, hopefully this podcast will do that and will help for those around, as well as those entering or have been through it, or whichever direction it goes in. So a big thank you to all of you for sharing your passion. A good way to word it at this point. Thank you everyone who's watched, listened. I would point out there's also a mental health special, which is quite good, and also touches on quite serious subjects in a light way. Light to you, because there's been quite a lot of light talk about this today. So thank you everyone for joining me today, and I look forward to catching up for a glass of wine or a beer or a G&T, and I'll leave you to the Patches. Thank you.
We'll stick one on you. Thank you, Pete. That's really good.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to The Microscopists, a bite-sized bio podcast sponsored by Zeiss Microscopy. To view all audio and video recordings from this series, please visit bitesizebio.com/the-microscopists.